Hello. Thank you for tuning in to my channel. This is Being Human. And if you're new here, my name is Marie Louise. And if you're returning, thank you for tuning in. I had this sense in my heart today that I need to create a video about my journey with Kundalini Yoga. And this is inspired by a mentor of mine who is a spiritual teacher and guide on YouTube. And her teachings are to follow the desires of your heart and so much more. But the essence of that is forget about the how, stop trying to make things happen, and really feel into what would feel yummy right now. And I have so many stories about how I ended up as a Kundalini yogini or yogi or whatever you want to call it. But if I really lean back and feel into it, I trust that I've always been attuned to and aligned with the principles and the practices of Kundalini Yoga. And my life experiences prepared me, shaped me, and guided me back to that part of myself. And then when I felt the presence of a Kundalini community for the first time, I felt at home within my own body, within myself. It was such an emotional experience. And I could link it to so many things. Like when I was in my yoga therapeutics training in Montreal back in 2014, 2015, my first experience with Yoga Nidra, and our teacher and guide said, whatever you set as your intention, keep it open, your sankalpa, and really feel into it. And my desire was to stop smoking. And so I said, I'm happy, healthy, and whole as my sankalpa, because those things couldn't be true. Excuse me. I get itchy nose as validation sometimes. Those things couldn't be true if I was still smoking. And so, ironically, as I was doing my Kundalini training, I learned that one of the overarching organizations of Kundalini Yoga is 3HO, and the 3 H's are happy, healthy, and holy. And so I was like, haha, my Sankalpa brought me here. And yet, as we dove into the teachings, a lot of what was shared was stuff I've always believed, and I had no idea where it came from. Like the philosophies and the principles underneath the physical practices were truths already in my heart. And my first experience was in 2016. And what brought me there was so interesting. I was working at a municipality in human resources and occupational health and safety at the time. And I had already completed my yoga therapeutics, 300 hours of training. I was a healing practitioner in a form of energy healing. And I was also working full time. I was teaching yoga and regularly, like 3 or 4 times a week, doing kickboxing and boxing. I had a really busy life. And something in my heart was like, Marie-Louise, you're here to support children on their journey of emotional embodiment. And my mind was like, yeah, but how am I going to do that? Like, you've already spent all this time and money becoming a yoga teacher. You have a career. You don't have any children. You have zero training for this. There were so many things that showed up around why that was impossible. And yet my heart was like so sure that it was true. And then I had this experience one day at work where one of my coworkers from another department, I saw her as I was going to the washroom, and she had her young son with her. And I said, oh, is this your son? And she said, yeah. And he got in trouble at camp today and got sent home. So I had to pick him up and bring him to work. And of course, he was embarrassed. And he hid behind his mother while she was explaining the story to me of what happened. And something told me to drop down to his eye level and look into his eyes and talk to him about breathing, the power of our breath in the moments when we feel emotionally triggered. Now, I used obviously different words. I don't even remember what I said to him. And then I thought about it after, like, that might have been inappropriate, Marie-Louise, but my heart led me to do it. And the next day I saw her and she was like, my son couldn't stop talking about you last night. And I thought to myself, like, where did that come from? And what that did was it actually encouraged me to look into training of yoga for youth. And I found a course. It was like the first time it was being offered. And it was in Washington, D.C., and it was 5 days. And it was like a few months away. So I sat with it and was like, you need to do this. And I registered for it. And when I got there, it was Kundalini yoga with Krishna Kaur, like one of the most iconic Kundalini yoga teachers ever. And I feel emotional even talking about it right now. But I was so sure that my soul is what guided me there. And I had no idea where it would lead me. And then I had no idea what the mantras were they were chanting. I was like, wow, Krishna Kaur kicked my ass because the training was so hard. And like, I was a martial artist. I actually thought I was really physically fit, but I mean, doing leg crosses, like scissors with your legs while doing breath of fire for like 11 minutes and stretch pose for 3 minutes. Like, these are ways that I had not used my body. And even though I had strong muscles, I had a weak navel. And just how enlightening that was and how much emotional purging happened over those 5 days. And I came home and was ready to change my whole life. And in fact, I started a new job as a mental health consultant shortly after that. And I got to go around and do public speaking and teach mental health first aid. And I loved it. People received me so well. And I started practicing Kundalini yoga every day because it really lit me up. And then I started to learn over the course of the next 5 years about the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And I realized how much we are living from that place of masculinity and doing in this society. And whether you are a man or a woman, or you associate with a different gender than those, we all have masculine and feminine energies. So I'm not talking about gender, I'm talking about our inner essence and the innate duality or polarities within us. And learning on this journey of finding communion, of the common union, common unity within my own self, I really dove deep into the divine feminine, which was more of an easeful way of being through meditation and deeply listening to my heart. And I went to Egypt. And when I came home a week later, I was in a car accident. And my whole life changed. I had to rest all the time. And that was so hard. I was so used to being so busy, but it was almost like I jumped into the deep end of the divine feminine pool and left my masculine at the edge. And through learning how to swim and reclaiming both the masculine and the feminine, I'm feeling so whole now. And yet I'm also feeling this deep desire to share how divine feminine energy can support all of us in our alignment, and just how necessary it is to embrace whether you're a man or a woman now. And like, even as I said, gender isn't really a part of this conversation. And then I was feeling this draw to offer a play shop on divine feminine bliss, dreaming yourself awake. And then from there, I had this, again, the nose, sorry. I had this deep desire to offer this series on moon magic and aligning with the moon cycle. And then all of a sudden, I found this book that I had on my bookshelf for probably like 10 years that was gifted to me. And it talks all about the different stages and life cycles of women and nutrition and movement and sleeping and our sexuality, and like so much wisdom in there. And I thought to myself, when I allow my mind to get out of the way and I really feel into the wisdom of my heart, it's so easy. It's like we have our own innate compass in there that's able to guide us through life. And the mind can really complicate things. I mean, it's essential. We all have one for a reason. And yet, when the mind is able to work for us and the heart is the guide, so much shifts and our potentiality moves from like 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional reality into this quantum way of being. My sense is that is all that I have to share today. But if you stayed through the whole thing, I appreciate your presence. And if you cut out earlier, I still appreciate you. If you have any questions, I would love to see your thoughts, your experiences in the comments below. And if you desire information about any of these upcoming play shops or offerings, I'll include my email as well. And either way, even if you receive this as an invitation to feel into your heart and notice what would feel really yummy and delicious for you today, and allow yourself to follow that, then you just made my day. So much love to you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being human.